So why would he be doing internal external rotation as a boxer? So a slow, steady run, but not just a slow, steady run. One that's got a really long ground contact time. The VersaClimber appearing before its time.
Yeah.
Now, the VersaClimber, quite a useful tool, isn't it?
Yeah.
The only thing I would say with the VersaClimber is that there's no physical impact of it, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But because there's no physical impact, it reduces those physical demands a little bit too much.
Yeah. As well, when I've used it, it's hard to hit the intensity. It's like more of a grinder.
Yeah.
Like on the air bike, you've got that grind against obviously the fan, but you can still hit quite a peak intensity.
Yeah.
The VersaClimber just being that constant load and it's like more push and pulling motion, you can't really get that speed in there. So when we do like our 30-second sprints or 12 seconds on 48 off, you haven't got that spring, you haven't got that kind of spike in intensity.
Yeah.
It's more like kind of longer duration stuff.
But if you think about the planes of motion as well, the VersaClimber is literally vertical. So you think about what muscles are being activated here, shoulders, relatively small muscle group. Think about motion downwards.
You get a lot of
pushing.
muscular fatigue compared to when you're running. Obviously, the muscular fatigue will make it limit that intensity. That will overload your cardiovascular demands.
It's like when you talk about red zone circuits and making sure that you're choosing the right exercises at the right time to make sure that you're still in the red zone. People can often misplace an exercise, and so it reduces heart rate and at the same time increases local muscular fatigue, doesn't it? Which then limits the effectiveness of other exercises.
For boxers as well, be very anterior dominant in there. So anterior dominant when you're boxing, why would you want to put more emphasis on it? So instead of doing the VersaClimber, I would say like doing air bike, watt bike, Prowler.
Oh, what is that they're showing a display of? And if any Russian speaking fans can tell us what this is, I can't make out from the figures.
Old school versus new school. Obviously old school wins in the end. Russia was quite advanced.
If you look at like the motion on there.
Feet are going to get wet.
And cold.
I love this bit. Why is there a punch bag halfway around his running track? Oh. So obviously use them in the labs.
I believe that is an early form of an isokinetic dynamometer, an instrumented leg extension machine to measure force, like internal external rotation of the shoulder, extension flexion of the knee. So you get a measure of torque. A lot of physios swear by isokinetic dynamometry for hamstring quad ratios as a marker of return to training.
I love the comparisons that they have, the external internal rotation on the dynamometer.
So why would he be doing internal external rotation as a boxer?
Probably not to that maximum intensity, but to help protect the shoulder. Boxer's quite tight in here. Working that external rotation can help improve posture, improve shoulder stability and health. Would I go to that intensity? No, because you can see that he is not keeping his elbow in. I'm really going to go in on Drago because he's not a nice character, is he? Look at the...
Is he flaring?
Flaring the rib cage. His elbow's not tucked in, so then he's getting some rear delt going off there, compensating, so he's sort of using the lower back. External internal range for a boxer is nowhere near the level that they're doing there. And so if a boxer's seeing this and thinking, right, I'm going to do some internal external rotations and I have to go all the way out to there, all they're going to do is start compensating and not optimizing the activation of the rotator cuff muscles. So he needs to keep his elbow in, keep the rib cage down, external internal rotation there. Certain physiologists, when started working in boxing, saying why don't you do hand bike as a testing procedure. But we know from testing is in like jump testing, knowing that that's a big contributor to punch force, knowing that fitness, there needs to be fitness on legs rather than upper body. Really, we kind of steer away from using a hand bike for
isolated movements.
Isolated movement. Boxing is a whole body movement, so that's why we work on kind of whole body fitness. Yes.
So at least he's getting some posterior chain there.
Yeah, getting posterior chain. That's good.
And put some isometrics on.
I love this lift. Very bad clean, no hip contact.
Elbows.
Oh, that's good. An elbow injury right there.
At least a wrist injury?
Yeah, it needs to be whipping the elbows through. This is the reason why we don't do Olympic lifting with boxers. They haven't got that wrist mobility and stability and strength, so they end up cleaning. They can't get their elbows through. Huge kind of impact forces through the wrist can increase the likelihood of injury whilst doing the exercise, but also increase the demand on the wrist, create overuse injuries.
Absolutely.
And these are the reasons why we don't use full Olympic lifting, because we can't optimize the technique to optimize the safety and optimize the effectiveness as well.
He's got some elbow supports on there as well.
I think he needs it, to be fair.
He's also catching it very, very high, isn't he?
Yes, got Prowler variations, so like you can go with that.
So Rocky's not
Rocky
really
needs
making...
to go a little bit lighter.
Yeah, he's not really making good use of the load there.
Like Prowler, you can end up going too heavy. I think like Drago's like kind of repetitive action, and that's going to have more of a cardiovascular response rather than kind of strength endurance like what Rocky's having there. You can't move it, it's going too slow. We're wanting high force, high speed actions repeatedly. So when you're doing a Prowler, you want to be going around about your body weight to make sure that you're moving it fast enough to create a physiological demand for the body. Yes, good chin ups.
He's happy.
I'm liking the fire.
Chin ups in the fire.
Brilliant.
So
punch back.
Some rotational hip mobility there as he pulls his leg out of the snow to reach forward. So Rocky's mainly been doing low intensity running and slower.
It's going for the distance.
And slower type actions.
Going to go for the knockout.
Yeah.
Skipping, fantastic exercise. I wish I could skip like Rocky.
Got a training beard now.
Yeah. Double and skipping. Good contact times there.
And good use of the fire for heat exposure.
Oh yes, got some very intense core training there. A lot of trunk flexion. Really, you need to be working on anti-extension, I'd say. That's what he's working on there with the wood chops.
Drago doing the same thing, but he's assessing his force.
Each one. Really, like with core training, you can't really overload that force unless you're doing isometrics or doing like some sort of throws. If you're doing anything in between, it needs to be like kind of increased tension or increased time under tension with reps. So with like leg lowers, when we're using the weight and we're popping it behind the head, we're probably go no heavier than 15 kilos. If that becomes easy for them, we could do a little pause at the end, because we can't really go really heavy like with 25 kilos, because that increases strain and then probably not overloading the core as much as what we can.
There'll be some compensations, won't there?
Instead of using high force outputs, using some kind of isometric tension, time under tension.
And plus like a crunching action actually has more spinal compression, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I'd be like more like trying to do hip flexion with neutral spine, straight arm, straight leg sit-ups. Boxers need to really work on anti-extension. Training history, doing lots of sit-ups. They're strong in this, and they're strong in this anyway because most of the actions are here. So trying to open up that rib cage, doing anti-extension, that will get the core stronger and also will protect from lower back injuries. Tricep extensions, really important for boxers to work through that mid phase. Work towards the snap of the punch.
Whereas Drago's doing bicep curls.
No, that's tricep extension.
Oh, is he doing
tricep extension?
I'll let him off.
Yeah. Rocky abs. You'd be a liar if you hadn't tried this out. A lot of kyphosis at the top, so I wouldn't recommend it. If you can do it for a party trick and film it and put it on TikTok, do it. Okay, punch dynamometer. Science.
There you go.
So we're going up to 2,045 of, I don't know.
Whatever that is.
Whatever. You'd say it's newtons.
You would do, but it'd be very difficult to assess that.
Frank Bruno, was 4,000. 40 years ago, using punch dynamometers. And we haven't developed or used a punch dynamometer. What are the reasons why? We
feel as though our domain is strength and conditioning. When we started, there was still a lot of stigma around strength training. We had to kind of stay in our lane a bit. and not try and cross over and do related to punching, which is very much a coach's domain. Induce fatigue, or you could ask them to produce different types of shots. Still an isolated environment. We predominantly work with professional boxers. It's not always the goal to produce maximum effort every single time. You've got to question whether a peak punch output relates to actual performance as well. Might link to strength, which is great. If we look at the scientific research, there's quite a few ways to assess punch force. There's a few different dynamometers, some methodological considerations in there. We're going to look at in the next few years is the ways in which punch force has been assessed, and try and make some recommendations of how it can be assessed in the scientific literature. There's some that are force plate based, there's some that are accelerometry based, there's some that are pressure based, and there's those fairground ones as well that people love. I've got no idea how they do it. It all looks like it's assessing punch force, but the method behind it is all different. If we're going to take this part of the field forward, we need some recommendations as to say, okay, here is the gold standard for how you should assess force, punch force in boxing and combat sports.
So we use either the med ball punch throw. Use that quite a lot across professionals and amateurs, and obviously we've evolved that to the landmine punch throw. These are predictors of punch force because it's mimicking the punching action.
But arguably, because we do it at different loads, you get much more information than a single punch. What we're going to do with this information? What are we going to do with that value?
Because that force could be from hand speed, or it could be from the snap. There's different kinds of kind of punches. People that have power where it's like a thudding power. Then you have some that are really snappy. Some rely on hand speed, some rely on strength. And with the landmine punch throw, what you can do to it at different loads to then go, right, this athlete needs to develop the hand speed. If they're a little bit behind the averages at 20 kilos, 30 kilos, they're a little bit behind the averages there. They need to work on that strength, so they'll do punch specific exercises such as heavy landmine punches, heavy landmine punch throw instead of doing the med ball throws and stuff as well. Good head movement.
Oh, he's punching harder.
If you're a keen follower of boxing science, you'll see that we do a lot of velocity based training where we assess the speed of a lift. The lowest kind of speed for like kind of lower body movements is around about 0.3. For upper body movements, boxers struggle driving through that sticking phase because of the weakness in the triceps, and probably their lifting velocities probably go around about 0.25, something like that. Whereas like a lot of like kind of rugby players on VBT studies can go like to 0.2 to even lower to 0.18. What do you think this is in meters per second in this press? How many meters per second?
Drago,
both
they're about the same, aren't they?
That's got to be 0. That's minus.
Minus, it's going down.
There's no way that they'd be able to lift that slow.
That's 0.15.
No, that was about that. We're in reverse. Oh, here we go. Incline treadmill. What's the optimum incline that you'd go to for the treadmill running?
Depends on what you're trying to achieve, doesn't it?
So normally we go for 1.5% for normal cardiovascular sessions, working at the red zone. Muscle buffering, 3%.
Yeah. You don't want to go too high because then that changes how the ankle functions and can put strain on Achilles.
How much strain on Drago's Achilles is going now?
Because you can see he'll be 4 foot striking a lot more. Gonna break the machine, isn't he?
Rocky's in a much better position, softer position.
That's at least 20%. I mean, they're both going up inclines.
Yeah.
Rocky's using whole foot though.
There's no way that could you even run at that incline?
I think it's called the maximum anaerobic speed test. It's not really used that much. That's steep though. Like our treadmills can go to 25% gradient. It always amazes me when I do stick it on 25% gradient how actually steep it is. I want to say it's like 18% gradient, something like that, and you run for about 6 seconds and you just increase the
I think we might have to do that. We might have to do that for another YouTube video. So he's just quit on the treadmill. Can't quit when you're running up a mountain. This is where the old school beats the new school.
He's lost gradient there. No, now he's trying to be Killian Jornet,
the
famous ultra runner. You've made it. Psychological benefits to getting to the top of the peak like that, though.
But that must
There you go.
that must have took him about 4 hours to get up there. Surely, even if you're running at that rate. You're getting to there, sunset. Look at the sunset. Is he going to get down before it's dark? Probably not. He's probably going to freeze to death.
I also question...
Not make the fight. It's in December as well. The fight's in December.
I question whether that's Siberia or not with that landscape.
Realistic world, Rocky would have died, but it's not realistic.
Mountain Rescue would have had to come and get him.
Yeah, Mountain Rescue. So that brings us to the end of this reaction video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it and taken a lot away from science behind Rocky IV's training montage. If you like this kind of video, please leave a comment in the comment box below. Let us know what you think and let us know what kind of videos that you want us to react to.
Quite progressive training though, really, wasn't it? It's a lot of it.
For 40 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Okay guys, thank you very much. Hopefully see you on the next video.